Today in the Fresh Run Club, I'm recapping my 2022 and looking ahead to 2023. Welcome back to the Fresh Run Club. For today's video, I want to recap what I did in 2022 because I had a really good year running. I also want to look ahead to 2023. So a couple highlights, recaps that I have. I started off the year actually in 2021. I had an idea, which at the time I thought was a really good idea, that I wanted to start my run in 2021 and then finish it in 2022. So I started my run a few minutes before midnight. As the clock struck midnight into 2022, I was out in the middle of a run. The one thing I didn't really talk about because it was honestly a little bit jarring, the amount of gunfire that happens at midnight was shocking. I don't think I've ever been actually outside at midnight. I would not recommend it. I don't think I'll be doing that ever again. It was a good idea in theory, but in practice, didn't seem like the safest of ideas. So that is how I kicked my year off. And from there, I went pretty much right into training for the Cleveland Marathon. This is the first springtime marathon that I've ever done. And let me tell you, I absolutely hated it. I live in Michigan where it's winter. It's cold, it's icy, it's snowy, it's windy, it's brutal. And having to train for a marathon and run extremely long distances in that kind of weather was not fun. My other option was to run on the treadmill, which I can't think of. I don't know what's worse, running 10 miles on a treadmill or running 10 miles on icy, slippery sidewalks with a wind chill of 5 degrees and the wind blowing in your face in both directions. They're both awful options. And because of that, I don't know if I will run a spring marathon ever again. It was absolutely not fun, but I did stick to my training. I got myself into probably the best shape of my life heading into the Cleveland Marathon, which was in May, which is kind of the next sort of standout running moment for me in 2022. And I got my PR. I ran really well. I really enjoyed the course. I just made a video about this, but I got absolutely no sleep before the race. Still got my PR. It was fun. There was a lot of people out there. Cleveland is a great city. Their marathon course is very interesting. I really liked it. I'd love to run there again one day. Maybe if they moved it to the fall, I'd be more likely to do that. But it was a really good race. Like I said, I got my PR. I was really happy with how things turned out. I had a lot of fun running it. I had some fun training for it, but again, you go from miserable January, February, and then into March when it's just my least favorite temperature of 37 degrees and it's windy and it's raining. It just is kind of the worst time of the year to train for a marathon. A nice run. The only thing I will say, maybe an improvement for next year, if anyone at the Cleveland Marathon is watching this video, more porta potties. Long bathroom lines. Might have to go in the lake. I almost missed the start time waiting in line. Had a little bit of moment of panic heading into the race, but I did make it to the porta potty before the gun went off and started my race. So that was probably the highlight of my running year for 2022, running and getting a PR in the Cleveland Marathon. So after the Cleveland Marathon, for the first time in a while, I wasn't training for anything specific in the summer, so I could really just enjoy my runs, which I had a lot of fun. Just going out and running whatever pace I wanted. Really no regard for pace. I didn't even look at my watch a ton of times to see what my pace was or what my heart rate was. I was just going out there and running for the fun of it, which I really enjoyed. It can be hard to stay disciplined when I'm not exactly training for anything, but the enjoyment of running kept me motivated throughout the summer, and I just had a lot of fun just running without worrying about a certain distance or a certain pace or a certain level of fitness that I have to hit before a race in October. I also started my 50-state challenge, so I want to run at least a mile in all 50 states. I know people run a marathon in all 50 states. That seems a little intense. I just want to run 1 mile in every state, maybe include Puerto Rico in the mix too, but I started and I got 4 done. So I am in Michigan, so I obviously run in Michigan quite often. I went on a little East Coast trip, so I ran in Massachusetts, I ran in New Hampshire, and I ran in Maine, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I am at 4 of 50. Hopefully I will run in a new state soon, but excited to start that challenge. So check those videos out. I will link a playlist to my 50-state challenge below. So as the summer went on, I realized, hey, I kind of want to train for something a little bit. So I decided to run the Detroit Half Marathon. The international portion of the half marathon is back open. So I was really excited about that new course. I didn't train to get my PR, but I did train to just be in good enough shape to run a decent pace, but also enjoy it. And I absolutely enjoyed it. It was perfect weather, just a beautiful day, but I had a lot of fun running the Detroit Half Marathon this year, crossing into Canada and then crossing back into the United States. It was a blast. class. I highly recommend that race if you haven't run it. It is a really cool race. One of the few races you can run into 2 different countries over the course of the half or the full marathon. So after that, I've just been kind of running on my own. I am starting, and I will talk a lot more about this next year, I'm starting to do a little bit more of zone 2 training, which is basically running in your zone 2 heart rate. If you use Strava has a little section that talks about that. So trying to keep your heart rate pretty low, which means running your easy runs extremely slow. I'm just starting to learn how to do that because it is a big shift, both physically and mentally, to tell yourself to run that slow. I mean, it feels like a jog to keep my heart rate at a certain level. So I'm kind of learning that, and I want to really apply that for 2023. But that's kind of the end of my year. This year is the most miles that I've ever run in a single year, and it doesn't really feel like it. It feels like just kind of any other year, which I guess is the sign of a good year. I had a lot of fun running, got my PR, ran a half marathon, really enjoyed it, just got a lot of good miles in. So very happy with my 2022 running year. So I do want to look ahead a little bit to 2023. I already have some plans in the works. So the number one thing, I just want to stay in shape this winter. I already talked about the zone 2 training that I'm going to start to do. I really want to put that into practice for 2023. I do have a race that I'm going to run in February, the Winterlauf in Frankenmuth, Michigan. So I ran the Volkslauf, which is German for people's race. I'm going to run the Winterlauf, which is German for winter race. I'm excited about that. Frankenmuth is a really cool town. I really like the Volkslauf. That's a fun race. We'll see what the Winterlauf is like. Hopefully it's not a complete blizzard, but looking forward to that. I'm going to stay in relative shape. It's an 8K, which is a distance that I've never run a race at, so we'll see how that goes. But I just want to go out there similar to the Detroit Half Marathon and just have some fun. And then the big thing that I'm looking forward to for 2023 is running a marathon, and I am going to train as hard as I can possibly train to try and set my PR. So I ran a PR in Cleveland, but I felt like I could definitely do better. I still haven't decided what marathon I'm going to do. I made a video about that. At the time of making the video, my number one choice was to do Detroit, but there's some really good suggestions, so I really appreciate anyone who left a suggestion. Columbus Marathon looks kind of interesting. It is Buckeye country, but the Buckeyes are 0-2 against Michigan in the past 2 years, so maybe not that big a deal. But the Columbus Marathon does look interesting. Indianapolis Marathon, I think I'm going to cross out the Ann Arbor Marathon and cross out the Grand Rapids Marathon. Not exactly the fast courses that I'm looking for, so I'm going to keep thinking about that over the next few months, but I do want to train really hard for that. I want to put that zone 2 training into practice and kind of merge it with the Hanson's marathon plan that I've been using for the past few years. That'll be like my focus for most of the summer and the fall, and then after that, I don't know, I'll probably just chill. So those are kind of my running plans for the year. And finally, I want to get into a little bit of inside baseball around my YouTube channel. So I do appreciate all the people who have subscribed over the past 2 years. I want to be very intentional with the types of videos that I make for 2023. To be honest, it's very easy to just do like shoe reviews, and I get a new shoe and then I make 10 different videos about that shoe. Those aren't the most exciting videos for me to make, to be honest. I want to do stuff that I really like. I want to do stuff that is different than what is already out there, and there's a lot of shoe reviews out there. There are a lot of shoe reviewers that are much better at it than I am, so I don't want to try to just be a cheap knockoff of some of those YouTubers. So I'm thinking about other content type of ideas. One thing I want to incorporate more is there's a ton of studies that are done about running and running shoes and diet and sleep and exercise and just like running related topics. There's just so much great information, and it's all backed by like data, which I think is really cool. It's not just me like making stuff up or just giving my opinion on like how a shoe feels after 6 miles. It's like actual scientific data that I can cite and you can go look up and read for yourself. I'm also thinking about sort of a theme for 2023. I'll put that out next year, but I want to sort of reset what the Fresh Brew Run Club is all about. I started this channel to make videos that I would find interesting if I was watching from the perspective of myself, just an average runner. I'm not like an elite runner. I'm not an expert. I'm not a running coach. I don't have running coach in my Instagram bio, but I just want to make interesting and unique videos. And I kind of want to get back to like re-emphasizing that. So I have a theme in mind. I'll put that out next year, 2023, and talk a little bit more about that, but excited to roll that out. And then finally, and this is more of a long-term thing, I am starting to think about apparel, merchandise type stuff. I did make a few of these mugs, but I want to think about that. I'm not ready to do that yet, but the idea of creating some sort of like unique Fresh Brew Run Club related clothing is something that's very exciting to me and is more of a long-term project. And I don't I don't think it'll be something I'll do this year, but I want to start thinking a little bit more about that. So those are kind of my plans, my more general plans for the channel. I do have a bunch of video ideas. I'm looking at my long list of stuff that I want to make for 2023. I did just want to say thank you to everyone who has watched my videos this year, everyone who has subscribed. It's really cool to start to see like the same people start to interact with my videos. That's really cool, and I really do appreciate everybody who comments and watches the videos and hits like. But really, that is my recap for 2022 and kind of where I want to take things in 2023. So with that said, I hope everyone has had a great 2022. Here's to many more miles in 2023. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you soon.